I think it's something that's very different for a lot of teachers to grasp. And I think, part of the plight right now is we have a lot of CS teachers that are from other disciplines. And so I say this often, but in CS, we're the only discipline that thinks it's natural or doesn't think it's natural, but we do it, where we're yanking someone out of their comfort zone, where they went to school for, what they, what they know in their content, and putting them into something new, brand new at that. And a lot of times we give them a week of professional development and then some online community. And it's like, yeah, you can teach an AP course, but it sounds absurd in any other AP course that exists. And so I think, there's an element of when you then add on this layer of PBL or any other inquiry-based learning, teachers just have to be super flexible. They have to be willing to embrace that failure with their students. And so I think the best way to do that is, building that trust and rapport with your students, letting them know that, this is new for you too. Not only the content, but maybe, the project-based learning approach. And what I've seen with teachers and those that are starting project-based learning, it's very overwhelming, all sorts of reasons. I think classroom environment's one of them. But then also, I think there's an element of the stigma that surrounds project-based learning too, that's like, well, I'm going to give my kids a project and then they're going to do it, but they, it may take too much time. And I think, there's so much progress that's been done with project-based learning. And anyone listening, I would recommend checking out pblworks.org. It is a site put forth by the Buck Institute for Education, which it used to be BIE.org, but they rebranded in a way. But they were real forerunners in project-based learning. And so I think there's the element of looking at doing project-based learning well and knowing when to step in and help your students and when to let them fail. And help them understand the difference and why we set up that environment. I think a lot of teachers, when they first do project-based learning, they also get a lot of backlash from students, especially the higher achieving student. Well, why aren't you teaching us? Why aren't you telling us what to do? Because that's how they've always been taught. It's always been spoon-fed to them, and they're used to that. And so breaking them out of that mold so they can really connect with the content and make it deep is something that teachers have to be willing to accept.
Right. Yeah, that depth is something that I strongly value in PBL because often with problem-based or challenge-based or puzzle-based or activity-based learning, it's this surface level application of understanding without really much synthesizing or depth in it.
Right.
At least in the stuff that I have seen. This excerpt is from podcast number 23 of the CSK8 podcast, which is titled Project-Based Learning in Computer Science with Justin Cannady. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app.